Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May our homage to our teacher Bhante. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Do you remember the sutta that we talked last week? What was it about?
Things to be abandoned by the eye of wisdom. Is that the one?
Exactly. Yes. And this is also connected with the full awareness meditation. We are trying to understand about that meditation with the support of the other suttas so that we can get knowledge from the Buddha's teachings, what exactly is full awareness. Now, to remember about the full awareness meditation in the Satipatthana Sutta, I will recite it again so that you can understand it. This was the meditation, and these discussions are centered in this meditation. The which meditation is this?
Full awareness meditation.
Yes, full awareness meditation. Do you see the screen, friends?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This was the meditation in the Satipatthana Sutta, and this was the third meditation. This is how the instruction goes by the Buddha. He say, again, a bhikkhus. Bhikkhu means the practitioner. A bhikkhu is one who acts in full awareness when going forward and returning, who acts in full awareness when looking ahead and looking away, and in full awareness when flexing and extending his limbs, and also when wearing his clothes and carrying the clothes, outer robe, and also the alms bowl, and exercise that full awareness even when eating, drinking, consuming food, and tasting, and even defecating, urinating, and also when walking, standing, sitting, falling asleep, waking up, talking, and keeping silent. Okay? That's how the instruction went according to the Satipatthana Sutta. And we explored about this in more details during our previous discussions, the meaning behind the full awareness. And there we studied that the full awareness should be the faculty of wisdom that we apply in our day-to-day life. Can I ask you a question, friends? How do you practice full awareness when you take your food?
Would that be situational awareness?
Yes, exactly. That is also the situational awareness. And with the suttas, we learned the ways that we can apply that full awareness in our day-to-day life. Do you remember something that we talked when hindrances enters the mind, that we try to recognize them? Yeah. And we also talked about when greed, anger, delusion arise in the mind, we try to let them go by using the full awareness. Actually, this full awareness and wisdom are same. These are similar things.
Mhm.
Full awareness means actually we live our life in order to develop our wisdom regarding our life, so that we know the things that we do, and we try to let go the distractions. That is the function of full awareness. Um, do you remember that we also talked about having restraint over our actions, like bodily and speech, that we try to protect and guard our bodily actions, and we try to guard our verbal actions. And later we can introspect in our mind, and we can try to let go the distractions in the mind. And that goes a little bit more deeper into our practice. So normally, friends, when a person practices full awareness, that person is actually starting the mental training in day-to-day life after putting them in ethical conduct. That is what I wanted to share during these discussions. That the mental training or mindfulness training should be based on the ethical conduct.
So would that be like to identify what's skillful and unskillful, like thoughts or actions?
Yeah, entirely. Like we start our ethical conduct, we start our mental training. Um, Ultimately, what we are doing is that we are trying to recognize what is unskillful and what is skillful, and what should we do to the unskillful things. What can we do to the unskillful things?
We could do loving kindness meditation, possibly, on the
No,
unskillful.
I
No.
mean, like for the practice, we should cultivate the skillful things, and we should um, abandon the unskillful things. Okay, that is where that we started the protection over our bodily and verbal actions, so that we let go the verbal and bodily bad actions, and we keep the bodily and verbal good actions. That while we enter into the practice, we start by doing that practice of letting go the unskillful things and leaving the skillful things. We don't normally let go all the actions. We keep the skillful things with us, and we let go the unskillful things. And that is done by wisdom. And we talked about that when a person protect living beings, that is a skillful action by the body. And when a person harm living beings, that is an unskillful thing by the actions. So from that moment onwards, we are applying our wisdom for every other actions we do. Whether we speak, we try to protect our speech, and we try to abandon unskillful speech and keep skillful speech. And later we come to the mental training. What do we do in our mental training? Do we let our mind to wander? No. What we do is that we try to apply the same wisdom that protected us during our actions of body and speech to protect our mind, our mental actions. So for every practices, for every practices that we do, there is this use of the wisdom in our life. So we need that wisdom to be cultivated. Okay. Now, without restraining the actions of body and speech, we cannot awaken our wisdom to let go the distracted thoughts. Okay, let's say that we just write after coming from a distracted life, a distracted lifestyle, we sit down to do the meditation. Let's say we don't know anything about the wisdom. We don't know anything about how to let go the unskillful things and how to keep the skillful things. Will that meditation be success? Will that gonna be success?
No.
No. Why? Because we abandon the most important practice, the practice of wisdom. That is, that is called also a inner eye, which brightens our path during our practice. Okay, it is a must. It is very important to have a ethical conduct to practice the mental training. Okay. Now, in the full awareness meditation, even that this speaks about exercising that full awareness during walking, sitting, lying down, and standing, and eating, drinking, and wearing the clothes, and extending arms and flexing arms, whatever that person does, in order to exercise the full awareness, they should already have practiced this ethical conduct. Otherwise, we don't get even a subtle focus. If we need at least a very simple focus, we need to watch our bodily and verbal actions. Okay. Why do we need to watch our bodily and verbal actions? What is the purpose that we need to watch our actions during the other activities?
Because we need to recognize when it's unwholesome.
Exactly. We need to recognize what is skillful, what is unskillful. And now when the person sit down, when they have a good practice on their wisdom, they can easily let go the distractions. When something enters to the mind during the breathing meditation, they can easily let go that because they were practicing that during off the cushion. They were exercising that when they were not doing the meditations. Okay, now that is why this full awareness is very important, and we talked about that. So can we, okay, can somebody give me an example for one unskillful action and another skillful action that can happen through our body? Let's say body. Give me one example.
Anger?
No, by
body?
way of body.
Body. You hit someone? Or you
What?
throw, like hitting somebody might be, or
Yes,
throwing a pen
hitting
at them or
somebody,
something, or
yeah, bumping into someone.
yeah. Or
Yes.
just like angry, but you're not saying it, but you just sort of like bump them.
Yes. Let's say harming living being, let's say harming. Okay. That is something happened by way of body. Now, what is the skillful thing there in that bodily action? let's say we are practically living beings. That is the skillful action. Okay. Now, how about the speech? What are the speech? What are the skillful things that we can do by speech?
Well, if someone says something to you that offends you,
Yeah.
not to react immediately, to think
Yeah.
about it and try to understand that there might be a number of reasons, and it's
Yeah.
not you, it's
Yeah.
their issue.
You see that there is this wisdom, the play of the wisdom, that when you provide the correct answers, that you took some time to understand what is this monk, this Bhante is speaking, and what is it he's referring to. And then you recognize, okay, this is skillful, harming living beings, unskillful, and protecting living beings is skillful. Speech, when it comes to speech, this is skillful, this is unskillful. Now that is your thinking, your free wisdom that you can know for yourself. Okay, this is exactly what you need to practice, letting go the distracted thoughts. Now here there's a very short sutta that is called love. What should he not give one who loves the good? What should a mortal not relinquish? What should one release when it's good, but not release when it's bad? He was asked by a Deva from the Buddha. Buddha gave the answer. A person should not give himself away. He should not relinquish himself, which means the person should not abandon his benefit, his or her benefit. What lead to the goodness and badness, what lead to the success and a failure. One should release a speech that is good, but not a speech that is bad. You see, one takes a moment to reflect before one speak. Before one release the speech, one should know, oh, am I talking good or am I talking bad? If you know that it is bad, you should not put that out. If you know that it is good, you should put that out. Because when after speaking something, let's say we spoke something, can we reverse that? After speaking that, let's say accidentally I said something for another. Let's say because of lack of the mindfulness or introspection, I just uttered a word.
No,
What
you can't.
happens if we, what?
You can't because the other person is already. If you say something bad,
Yeah.
speech that is bad, the other person is already affected. You can't take that back. But what if someone says something bad to you that you feel is bad, and you just don't react? You think about it, and because there may be reasons why that person is saying that, so you just don't react. No speech.
Well, yeah, you still apply your wisdom. And first thing you need is not to abandon yourself, not to abandon your benefit, not to abandon your mindfulness. You should guard yourself. And after that, you can speak with that person.
Yeah.
Normally we have this um, uh, in our ordinary life, we don't have a mental training. Normally, we are not, as long as we are not focusing to our body or our like body as our mindfulness, if we are not focused, so we can easily caught up into others' words and we immediately react whatever the other person tells, and it can take ourselves into a pointless discussion. And if it is a harsh speech, we might entangle with the anger and we will persist the anger by speaking again and again. So the most important thing, if somebody were to criticize us, is the Buddha say that you mindfully listen to that and then you start to analyze what the person say. If that person is speaking truth, So you don't need to worry because as long as if you see that in you, you don't have to worry because he's speaking the truth. But if that person is speaking false, you can talk with that person. The one you mention is not in me, so that is not the correct way that you are telling. So this is incorrect. This is the correct. Like we can go for such a discussion is still with the wisdom, is still along the way of the speech. That's why Buddha say, while you speaking, you exercise your full awareness. So during the discussion, you are closely focused to the speech, and you should not speak unskillful things, but you can speak skillful things. What is the most valuable? Is your mindfulness or the other person's knowledge? Oh,
Mindfulness.
mindfulness. Not the information the other person brings. I mean, like I'm talking about uh, like a challenging situation, but normally in our day-to-day life, we don't have such things. Do we have? Do you have? Always like conflicts?
Every time, every day, Bhante.
Well, you need to first establish yourself in the mindfulness and then speak with the person.
I have a follow-up question on that. Like,
Uh-huh.
let's say if there is a situation where you are misrepresented, or there is something that which is directed towards you, towards us, essentially, where it kind of demands your to explain your side of the story or something like that, then how do we, or do we just stay silent and just maintain mindfulness?
Uh, you mean if you have a urgency to speak for something?
No, like just in general, like if somebody is misrepresenting you, right?
Oh,
It's not truth.
misrepresenting.
Yeah, it's not
Ex
truth, and it is going to impact you. Let's say at work, right?
yeah, that's where you need to speak.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you need to speak, but not to speak harsh word,
Mm-hmm.
idle chatter, or lie, or a divisive talk. You don't go to that wrong speech, but you still speak the truth, the fact with the person. This is what is uh, you need to know. This is the exact thing happened. So we reveal that. But it depends with the situation and the person. Um, yeah, we cannot make up a frame that you will gonna do this when that happens and this happens, but
Mm-hmm.
you need to analyze the situation and know for yourself, and then you apply this. But yeah, again, we talked about this in a later, like a previous session, that we said um, in order to win the person who is lying, we need to speak the truth. That is how we can conquer that person.
Mm-hmm.
If a person were to get angry at us, we need compassion to conquer the person, uh, but not the other way around.
That other person may have bad information.
Yeah,
So you need compassion because you know that he's wrong. And
yeah.
he probably heard it from someone, bad speech that he heard, divisive speech from someone else.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So if we are explaining our point of view, and if that, I mean, inadvertently, we are also talking in a divisive manner, right? Or it does not amount to divisive or divisive speech, does it? Like if somebody says, okay, XYZ person,
Mhm.
he was like whatever it is, right? Just
Uh-huh.
giving a hypothetical example.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you say that, okay, no, I didn't mean that, and that person is not accurate. So
Yeah.
does that amount to divisive speech or no?
When you speak, there should be an intention of dividing, making two people apart. You must
Okay.
have that bold intention, which means
Hmm.
visible intention, very clear to you that you
Hmm.
are breaking two people apart. And there must have such a powerful intention to happen that to break two people when we speaking. I mean, let's say there are two persons, and then I listen from a one
Mm-hmm.
and bring the news to the next one who
Mm-hmm.
are already two friends. And then out of intention, I
Mm-hmm.
intentionally, deliberately change the information, and I change the story and tell completely different story to that person, motivated by a powerful intention of breaking them apart.
Mm. I see. Okay.
That's the device you talk. So then we later see these two people separated and they are not united. And we get our wisdom to know that this is how we do that. There should be such an intention. And we cannot control the others, and we don't need and we cannot expect others like they would speak to us always good things, and they should not treat us bad. That's the challenge. So we need our mindfulness even the midst of such a lifestyle,
Mm.
because we are encountering with many people in many walks of their lives and with many um, like perspectives. So most important thing is to know your protection and your wisdom, um, your benefit, and then you are knowing what to talk and what not to talk. And uh, there is a teaching where the Buddha once went with the attendant Bhante to a certain village, and the village people there was criticizing the Buddha. They didn't like Buddha at all. And they
Mm-hmm.
started to blame and criticize the Buddha when he was going to the alms round. And the attendant Bhante said, Buddha, Master, we cannot stay here. You see, these people are criticizing us, and they are doing it without a reason. Like they just want to harm us. They just want to criticize us. Let's
Mm-hmm.
go somewhere else. Let's go to the next village. And the Buddha asked, so Ananda, after going to the next village, what if they also speak to us the bad words? What do we do? And then the Ananda Bhante said, after that we go to the next village, Buddha. And then the Bhante said, like the Supreme Buddha said, so we go to the next village, what happens if they also criticize? And the Ananda Bhante said, we go to the next village. Buddha said, no, no, we stay here. Let's stay here. Let's face to this. And this will only last for a few days and this will go away. Don't worry, Buddha said. And the exact thing happened. And again, there's another sutta in another situation where Buddha was going with the attendant Bhante again. And there was teacher and a student going, following the Buddha, and they were blaming the Buddha. The teacher was blaming the Buddha while the student was praising the Buddha.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Buddha said, so the Buddha heard that, and the Ananda Bhante asked, why the teacher is criticizing us, while the student is praising us. What is that? Why? How do we react to that? So the Buddha said, if somebody were to uh, criticize the Buddha or the disciple of the Buddha, you don't get angry. Buddha said, you don't get angry. If you get angry, the loss is yours. If you are being criticized, if you get angry, the loss is up to you. You will get so much distraction. So don't get angry and try to watch carefully what is this person is speaking to you.
Mm.
If that person is speaking if that person is speaking the truth, if that person is praising you because that you have something in you, let's say that we have loving kindness, then now that person is praising you because you have loving kindness. Buddha said, you don't need to overjoy with that because they are telling you something that you already have. So you don't need to be much concerned about that. And if that person is telling you something that you don't have, like criticizing, don't get anger either. And see if you have that the things that this person say, and try to see it in you. If you have that in you, try to, like, if that is a fault, try to correct you. Try to develop that. Let's say that this person is telling you that you are having anger. So try to practice loving kindness and correct that. Try to correct that fault and try to practice the loving kindness. Still don't go and fall into the arguments where there is no any stopping. Yeah. So always we need our mindfulness and also the wisdom to protect our life during such situations. And that is a very, relying on the skillful side is very important because no one can harm you as long as you are based on the skillful side. Because sometimes the harm is not coming outside, but sometimes harming is coming inside, Let's say people are criticizing us, like entire world is criticizing us. Let's say entire world is blaming us. As long as you don't have anger, you don't have a problem, do you?
If you don't have
Yeah.
anger, then they can't push your buttons.
Skillful things.
Yeah.
Let's say that you have anger, but entire world praises you. Bante, you are very good, you are very kind, but you know for yourself you have so much anger. But the entire world tells you that you are like very beautiful or something. But you have anger, you easily get angry. The problem is ours if we have anger. So world is nothing to do with for us as long as we rely on these skillful things. We don't even need to be frightened or scared that what will gonna happen in the future when I'm going to the people, when I go to the midst of the crowd, when I'm living in the society, how these teachings are applicable to that and this moment. Well, all we need is to protect ourselves and based in our ethical conduct, and then going to the engage with the society, because most important thing is this skillful things, growing and cultivating these things. I know sometimes there are people, no matter how much they are being criticized, they don't get angry. They smiles. That's their very powerful wisdom.
That's the strength, actually. It takes a
The
lot.
strength, exactly, the strength. I don't think the strength comes up without wisdom. Strength should be like we emotionally get the strength, I can bear that, no matter whatever the others tell, I have this strength in me. Like we try to get emotionally. That's a one thing, but the wisdom is another. Emotional things like emotional constructs are fragile, easy to break. But when we based on the wisdom, it is very powerful. So the strength that we take into our life should be based on this wisdom. What do you think? Is it wisdom to have a, ethical conduct in life, a virtue in life? Is it wiseful or unwise?
Wiseful.
Wise. Yeah.
Sometimes people say, No, you don't need limitations to your actions. You should do whatever you want. Of course, we can do whatever we want, but if we are in a practice to awakening, we need to base ourselves in the virtue and practice the wisdom, and that takes us more and more far away. Like, I mean, it leads to a very like higher level of life. Like, you know, it is really amazing. Like, the entire Buddha's life is completely based on the virtue. Even for the life's sake, Buddha doesn't fall into the unskillful things. It is not actually like Buddha's contemplation continuously. I should not harm, I should not harm. That's what we are normally doing while we are practicing. But in the Buddha's life, it is an eternal like truth that he's completely abandoned all the unskillful things, that he cannot generate a thought of killing a living being. That mind doesn't fall into such a level, like such a level of anger. Let's say somebody doesn't have anger. Do they harm? I mean, can they harm? Let's say someone doesn't have
Nobody.
anger at all. Will they gonna harm another?
They shouldn't. They
They
shouldn't
won't.
be able. They can't.
They won't be able to do that because they cannot make that. Okay, normally we see when a person walks, there are ants on the ground and accidentally step on the ants, and the ants were being killed. So who to blame? Ants? The person walks? Whose fault? There is no any intention,
No intention.
yeah, of killing the ants. Because of that, the person who is fully liberated doesn't have any involvement of that killing. Yes. So wisdom. Actually, what I wanted to talk today is not about the virtue, but I wanted to talk about letting go the unskillful thoughts a little bit more. This is the part we studied in our last discussion. And what are the things to be abandoned neither by body nor by speech, but by having repeatedly seeing with wisdom? Greed is to be abandoned neither by body nor by speech, but by having repeatedly seen with wisdom. Hatred, delusion, anger, so on, to be abandoned neither by body nor by speech, but by having repeatedly seen with wisdom. Okay. The last day, actually, last week, we had very little amount of participants to our discussion. So if I ask the friends who joined during the last session, so when the anger or the greed arises in the mind, how we apply the wisdom to let go that? A question. According to our last discussion.
Doing generosity.
Yeah, but do you remember we talked about this impermanence? That when the greed or anger or other distractions arise in the mind, we learned that we can apply impermanence knowledge to the thoughts so that we can let it go. Now, let's say something is impermanent. What does that mean? How do you define impermanence?
It rises and passes away.
Yeah, whatever impermanent means that it arises and it passes. It arises and it passes. Now, we studied that our mind also has such a nature, that our mind, like the mental thoughts, whatever it is, healthy or unhealthy, distracted or beneficial, the thoughts itself carries the impermanence. Do you have the same thoughts that you had yesterday? What do you think?
It's not the exact same thought, but it's similar
Yeah.
to the same thought.
Yeah,
But it's
similar
it's
to-
never the
yeah.
same thought.
Because of the lack of our understanding of the impermanence, we make the thoughts alive. We deliberately make the thoughts alive because of not having the knowledge of impermanence. Because when the thoughts arises, we have the perception that this is solid. This will never change. This will stay forever. Have you ever felt when you get angry that this is impermanent? How did you perceive the anger? Is that as something impermanent or permanent, solid or
In the
changing?
in the past, before I understood impermanence, I
Yeah,
would never think of impermanence. I just think this is really bad, and you keep thinking about it and it gets worse and worse and worse, and the anger grows. But
yeah.
it is impermanent because eventually, the next day, you forgot about it.
But during when we get into the anger, we carry the perception that this anger is solid, greed is solid.
Yes.
Even for the loving kindness, we never meditated loving kindness as impermanent. So, loving kindness, generosity, the thoughts of letting go, whatever the thoughts appears in the mind, those are arising and falling, arising and passing. They are in the constant changing. But because we are giving it the attachment, because we are giving the craving to the thought, because of the lack of seeing the impermanence, we make them alive. That's how they stay in the mind. What do you think? The anger, does it have enjoyment or no enjoyment?
No enjoyment. It brings suffering.
But why it stays in the mind if there is no enjoyment in the anger? It should not stay inside.
I think the permanence is of the anger is almost an enjoyment. Yes. I think you feel right at that point that you have
Yes.
a right to be angry.
That takes the discussion to another direction. But what I wanted to know is that when the anger arises, we have seen its enjoyment. That is why it stays in the mind. If we were to see the anger as impermanence, it will leave our mind. Why it doesn't leave our mind? Because we couldn't focus to the angry thought and reflect its impermanence. So when you let go the distracted thought, with the wisdom, what you need is to focus to the exact thought which is disturbing you and try to understand its impermanence. This is impermanent. You can notice that thought by thinking this is impermanent. This is arising and passing. What you are actually doing is that you are breaking the relationship of your craving, your attachment to that thought. As soon as you realize the thought is impermanence, your thought leaves you.
But that requires great wisdom.
That is what we are doing. That's what we are meditating. That is why we are meditating. We keep on looking at again, let's say again, the thought, angry thought remembers to us. Again, after 2-3 days, enters to our mind. Again, we reflect impermanence, impermanence, impermanence. We are teaching our mind, we are feeding our mind with something originally exists. It is not contradictory to the truth. It is the truth. it is how it is. Sometimes impermanence is seen as things as they really are.
But if someone has no idea of impermanence, they don't know anything about it, and the thought is there, the anger is there, they may not realize it, but eventually, since that thought is impermanent, it'll go away. So, wouldn't it? It doesn't stay forever.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
But
one should not need to be a Buddhist, exclusively a Buddhist, to able to see the impermanence, because it is being taught as by the Buddha as truth of existence.
okay.
Even though that person doesn't know that, this person see that it enters to mind and it leaves the mind. But the sad thing is that the person cannot develop a higher wisdom in order to let go entire angry thoughts forever.
Yeah.
Because this is we are in a process, we are in a practice of developing wisdom, complete wisdom.
Yeah.
We see impermanence, so it meant, in popular culture, people say, oh, that is impermanent. Why you just hold on to that? Just let it go. Like people speak that.
Yeah.
But it is not leading to much more higher knowledge, because not only the thoughts are impermanent, but problems,
Yeah. Well, I have a good
life's
example.
struggles.
Yeah. I have a
Yeah.
friend who he does not forgive. If he gets angry at you,
Yeah.
he will not forgive. So that
Yes.
anger is with him all the time. It never goes away.
Trying to solve the problem of the anger by attaching to the anger, like try to fix the anger by attaching to the angry thought.
Mhm.
Like one is that, like whoever, like try to solve the problem by trying to control impermanence. That person is trying to make the impermanence thought permanent.
Yeah.
Will there be a liberation?
I'll have to tell him that.
Bhante, so why do we attach to anger again?
Because it has an enjoyment.
because we think we are right at that point.
Well, we can provide a few answers. One is because of the ignorance. The other one is because we not knowing that it is impermanent, and also because it has enjoyment. Anger has enjoyment. In the Buddhist teachings, Buddha say, suppose anger is like a tree. The tree has the roots, and what the roots do is pull all the nutritions to the tree and give the leaves and the fruits. Now, suppose the anger as a tree, the root is the hatred of the anger. Hatred is the root of the anger. You get hate and you keep on angrily, you keep anger. And the fruits and the flowers of the tree of the anger is the revenge. Now, isn't that the fruits are delicious? Fruits are delicious. Like the fruits are having some taste, good taste. Now, the revenge too has a taste. Revenge has a delicious, like people make them happy by revenge. Oh, you do this to me, or I do that to you. So, yeah, like anger itself, Buddha say, complete anger is like a tree. So we don't cut off that tree because we need the fruits. We keep revenging, and the anger keep on growing, and the root supports, like the hatred supports, and that is why we have attachment to the anger.
Bhante,
The question? Yes, ma'am.
yes, Bhante, you mentioned the inner eye. What did you mean by the inner eye?
Inner eye means, Manfred, the wisdom.
Okay. Okay.
We talked here about the Buddha's wisdom. It
Yeah.
is not my like our own understanding, but this all coming from the Buddha's knowledge. I don't think that anybody else can speak this much beautiful teachings without abandoning anger completely. Because we went to school, we studied, we went to colleges, we studied everything in the world, but we didn't find anything which supported to let go anger like this. I think Buddha had completely eradicated anger. Otherwise, he cannot speak such a discussion, like such a teaching. Thank you so much for joining with me.
Thank
May you
you.
be well and happy. May be soon able to attain our peace of mind. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.